Fine. Greetings everybody. I am Sudhanshu Kantu and today I would be delivering a small lecture on industrial sensors. What I would be covering today are what are different type of sensors, role of sensors in industrial automation, applications related to sensors in daily life, sensing solutions, and also a couple of slides, a couple of things on sensors for Industry 4.0. So before we go into sensors, let me explain it to you what are sensors. Sensors are the devices that convert a physical parameter or condition into a signal that can be measured electrically. That means they sense a change in physical condition and generate an output which can be connected or converted into a measurable form. For example, a sensor senses an object, it gives an output in form of digital output, which is NO or NC mode, or sometimes it gives you an analog output which is 4 to 20 milliamperes, which can be directly taken into a controller. So, sensors form a very inseparable part of measuring system, providing measurement and control for automation. Now, when we say why sensors are important, because the sensors are first of all most important element in any control and measurement systems. Why we say sensors? Because if you talk about normally a control system, it consists of three parts: a PLC, which is a controller, which is the brain, which does all the computation. Then there are output devices like pneumatic actuators, motors, electromechanical systems, and then there are input devices which are sensors. So, the sensors provide us the feedback whether that particular operation has taken place or not. One of the common example which most of the people refer to, what is a fully automatic machine? When we talk about a fully automatic machine, we say it is a human body. Why? Because the human body is endowed with all the three components. We have brain, which acts as our controller. We have input devices, which are our five senses. We have our output devices, which are our hands and feet. So, for example, if I need to move from point A to point B, my brain does the calculation, gives command to my feet to move 5 steps to reach that point. Whether I have reached that point or not is controlled or determined by the sensors, which are my eyes, which gives the feedback that I have reached that particular point to the brain. So, as I said, sensors play a very important role. Productivity, quality and reliability of the system is highly dependent upon the performance of the sensors. The highly accurate sensors will give you the most high accuracy in your control system. Now, if we talk about sensors, we see a lot of sensors being used in daily life in and around us. Some of the examples which I have listed here are thermometers, which has got a mercury inside, which measures the temperature of the human body. Similarly, there are temperature sensors which are used in microwave to control the heating, and there are temperature and humidity sensors in AC for controlling the cooling and the humidity of the area of the air around us. Now, let me give you an explanation of what is a process. Process is nothing but a combination of both measurement and control devices which connect to a physical system. Let me give you a simple example of a process. Consider there is a huge tank which has to be filled with water. Now, I require that system to be automated. So, what are the elements that I would require so that to make the whole process automated? I require a control element, which is nothing but a pump which starts to fill the water inside the tank, a controller to start and stop the pump, and then we require a measuring system, which is a sensor to measure the level of water. Once the level has reached to a maximum limit, the pump has to be stopped. If the tank is empty, that means the sensor senses that a tank is empty, the controller has to start the pump again. So, the whole three units together form a process, and for any process it is important to have measuring systems, which are sensors, controllers, which are PLC based systems, and control elements, which are the output devices. So, these together make a whole process. So, today I would be covering about different type of sensors, different type of input devices that are used in industry. Hand switches, as we all know, these are mechanical switches which are pressed, it gives an output. Limit switches, which are on contact basis. Proximity sensors, which senses a target in the absence of when the target is in proximity to the object. Pressure sensors, which measure the pressure. Similarly, level for level measurement inside the tank, temperature for temperature measurement, and flow sensors to measure the flow. So, these are some of the common sensors which are widely used in the industry today. So, I will try to explain each of these sensors, its functionality and how these sensors are working. So, we will start off with a hand switch. generally known as a push button. If you look at the construction, it consists of a button on the top, a threaded neck, an actuator element which is either connected to either of the terminals. When the switch is pressed, the spring mechanism moves down, the contact which was NC moves to the NO position, and as a result of that the sensor changes its position from NO to NC. So, this is one type of a hand switch which is generally used. So, some examples: push buttons, rotary switches, toggle switches. So, this is a schematic diagram which shows how the contacts change from NC mode to a NO mode when the switch is pressed. Similarly, another element which is widely used in the industry today are limit switches. Limit switches detect the physical motion of an object by direct contact. If you look at the construction of a limit switch consists of a lever at the top which gets actuated once a mechanical object hits or moves the position of the contact. So, it is again a digital sensor, it is type of digital sensor which senses on the basis of contact principle. The typical limit switch uses a roll tipped, which is a roller based lever, and when a mechanical object hits that roller, it moves and thereby causing the spring mechanism inside to change its position and changing the output mode. So, these are some of the features which on the pictures you can see are some of the different housings of limit switches that are used. Now, these were sensors or these were devices which were working on contact principle, where we have a human contact. Other than that, there are a lot of sensors which are used in the industry which are detecting the object from proximity. That means they are not touching the target, they are sensing it from closeness. These sensors can be basically classified into different names, different principles based on the operation. For example, capacitive sensors, they work on the principle of capacitance. Magnetic sensors, which work on the principle of magnetic principle. Ultrasonic, as the word itself says, work on the principle of sound. And then there are optical sensors which work on the principle of light. So, I will be discussing about couple of these sensors, how they work, what is the working principle behind them, and something on the construction of these sensors. Generally, if you look at these sensors, they are represented by a normally open or a NC contact, which is the schematic diagram symbol of these sensors. Now, we talk about inductive sensors. Inductive sensors, as the word itself says, they are used a lot in the industry today for sensing metal objects. These sensors work on the principle of electromagnetic induction, and these sensors can sense metallic targets, not directly, but it can also sense metallic targets if there is a wall between them. For example, inside a glass tube you have a metal ball, it can detect easily. You have a plastic pipe and there is a metal inside that plastic pipe, it can be detected. So, these sensors can detect metal targets through directly, as well as if there is a small medium in between which is preventing which is acting as a wall between that. Now, let me explain you the basic construction of a inductive sensor. The inductive sensor consists of four major components: a ferrite core, which is the first part of the sensor, which is the front face or the sensing face of the sensor. There is an oscillator circuit, there is an output circuit, and there is a trigger circuit. So, these are the four basic components. So, here in the picture you can see there is a ferrite core which is on the front end, which is nothing but a core which is having a metallic winding on it. This is connected to an oscillator. This whole unit is enclosed inside a small barrel. This barrel is generally hollow, but it is filled with epoxy to make it airtight. And then at the end we have the wires which are coming out of the sensor, which gives us the output. So, heart of any inductive sensor which are working for sensing a metallic target is the ferrite core. So, let me explain how this sensor actually works. Now, as I said, the inductive sensor consists of four components: ferrite core, oscillator, trigger circuit, and output stage. The oscillator creates a radio frequency that is emitted from the coil. Once the electromagnetic frequency is emitted, it forms a small lobe in front of it, and when a metal target enters that radiated field, eddy currents are now produced inside the plate. So, we have all studied about the Lenz's law, which says any metallic target which is having a current flowing through it will produce an electromagnetic field. So, on the same concept, the eddy currents are starting producing in the target material. These eddy currents produces its own electromagnetic field, which opposes the field of the sensor. As a result of that, the oscillator stops to oscillate when the load becomes very high. That means the electromagnetic field produced in the target material is so high that it opposes the field of the sensor and it kills it together. So, this change of state, that means the oscillator which was oscillating earlier has stopped oscillating, is captured by a trigger circuit, which then generates an output which we can take in a measurable form into our PLCs or controllers. So, now one of the most important factor of this is the sensing range of a sensor. How far an inductive sensor can sense a target, that is determined by a couple of factors. One of the most important factor is the size of the coil. The larger the size of the coil, that means the larger is the sensing range. Apart from that, why I say larger is the sensing range, because when we have a larger coil, that means the electromagnetic field produced by the coil will be larger in size. When it is larger in size, we can sense a target at from a larger distance. So, that is one of the major factors. Another factors which are also effective the sensing range of the sensors are target size, target composition and mounting. The size of the targets plays an important role, target composition also plays an important role, and even how the sensors are mounted plays an important role. Let me explain you what target composition is. All sensors, inductive sensors, are designed keeping metal target, that is a mild steel target, as a reference target. That means they are tuned with mild steel as a reference target. If you change the target from mild steel to ferrous and to any other ferrous component like a non-ferrous component like copper, brass or aluminum, the sensing range will get reduced. So, the target size plays an important role, the target composition and target size plays an important role in sensing the material. So, just to give you a glimpse, these type of sensors come in different housings. These are the four different form factors in which these sensors are: cylindrical sensors, rectangular sensors, slot sensors and ring sensors. So, these are the four different housings of inductive sensors. Moving on to the next type of sensors, capacitive sensors. They are also used to detect non-metallic targets, specially used for that purpose. Non-metallic targets like liquids, paper, plastic, powders and other granular materials. These sensors also have a flexibility that they can detect through non-conductive container walls. For example, I need to detect the presence of liquid inside a glass tube. So, the sensor can be mounted outside and it can still detect the level of the liquid inside the glass tube. Similarly, through different housings, different form factors they are available, they can sense different type of materials. Especially used a lot for detection of level of hoppers in chocolate or food industries. So, again let me explain the construction of this type of a sensor. We have all used capacitors, we all know what a capacitor looks like. The capacitor generally has got two plates and there is a dielectric medium in between it, which is air. Here similarly, if we talk about the construction of a capacitive sensor, there is a sensing phase which is nothing but a plate which is connected to an oscillator circuit followed by a trigger and a output switching device. The sensing phase of a sensor acts as one plate of the capacitor and the target material, it acts as a second plate of the capacitor. So, when the target approaches the sensor, the oscillator senses the presence of a target and it starts oscillating at very high frequency, thereby causing the external capacitance between the target plate and the target and the sensing phase of the sensor, which results in change which is captured by the trigger circuit and then it generates an output. That means, during the initial stages when there is no target in front, the oscillator is not oscillating. As the target approaches, the oscillator starts to oscillate and this change in state is captured by the trigger circuit, thereby generating an output which can be taken into our controllers. So, like I said, as the target approaches, the oscillation reaches the threshold level and activates the switching device. So, the basic formula for capacitance measurement is area into dielectric upon the distance. We know the area is fixed, we know the dielectric of different materials that which is being used. The only thing that is changing is the gap, that is the distance between the target plate and the sensor. So, this is one of the important factors how a capacitive sensor can work. So, if you can look at the chart, you can look at the screen, you can see the dielectric constants of different material that are there. Water has got a dielectric of 80, grounded copper plate which is the base on which the sensors are designed has a dielectric between greater than 100 to 10,000. Glass, ceramic, PVC, wood, paper, oil, all have certain dielectric constants. These are the values of that. Air has a dielectric constant of 1. That means, if I need to sense some material inside a glass hopper, I should know what is the thickness of the glass and what is the material inside that. So, that based on that difference in the dielectric, I can be able to sense the material inside the hopper. Similar to capacitive sensors, there are other type of sensors also. Photoelectric sensor, as the word itself says, photo means light. These sensors work on a principle of light. These sensors consist of an emitter LED, a receiver to detect the light which is reflected back from the target object. Let me explain to you the construction of this system. This system consists of a light source which is the LED, which reflects light. The light can be anything, it can be a visible red light, it can be an IR light, or it can be a laser light. The light falls on an object, gets reflected back, and it is received by a receiver which is nothing but a phototransistor. The amplitude of the light which is received back is then measured and amplified by the signal converter and amplifier, and based on the intensity of the light that is received, the system then generates whether there was an object in front of it or not. So, this is how the sensor basically works. So, the light is reflected, it falls on an object and it gets reflected back to the object, to the sensor, and based on that, the threshold, that is the threshold level of the light which is received, we detect whether the presence of object is there or not. This is one of the ways these photoelectric sensors work. Now, one of the most important concepts of photoelectric sensors are, we all know a white color object has the maximum reflectivity compared to a dark color object. That means, a white color object which is not a white paper or a Kodak white paper has maximum reflectivity of 90%. That means, if a light falls on a white color object, it will reflect back almost 90% of the light back to the sensor. Whereas, a jet black color object which has the lowest reflectivity of 6 to 7% will reflect only 6-7% of the light. So, when photoelectric sensors are designed, they are designed keeping in mind the reflectivity which is which we get maximum with a white Kodak white paper which is used for printing of photos. So, these sensors are designed keeping white Kodak paper as a reference target material which has got the maximum reflectivity of 90%. Now, as I said, the photoelectric sensors, they consist of two basic components. There is a light emitted light which is a LED source, and a phototransistor which receives the light back. So, there are different form factors, different types of photoelectric sensors which work on different principles. So, I will try to explain each of them here. The first one is a through beam sensor. That means, there is a LED source in one housing and a phototransistor which is a receiver in a second housing. That means, the light from the transmitter will go to the receiver. If that light is obstructed by any component coming in between, it generates an output. That is one type of a sensor, that is known as through beam sensors in the industry. Other type are direct detection sensor, that is what also known as diffuse type of sensor. This category of sensors, the light, the LED source, the transmitter and receiver are in the same housing, and it uses the target material to get the light reflected back. Third category of sensors are retroreflective sensors. Again, these sensors have a transmitter and receiver in between on the same housing, but it requires a reflector at the other end for the light to be reflected back to it. Another category is a slot sensor. That means, it is a small U shape of a sensor which has got a transmitter at one side and a receiver at the other side. If the light is obstructed, these sensors generate an output. So, these sensors are basically used for high speed measurements, RPM measurement. These sensors can be mounted at the top of the gear, and as the teeth of the gear passes through, it detects a target and generates an output. Another type of sensors, again multiple transmitters in one side and multiple receivers on the other side. They help us to make a light grid. Now, what happens is, it makes a form of a wire mesh. That means, from one transmitter there is a light going to the other side on the receiver, and small wire mesh is made. Any object which enters into this grid gets detected and outputs are generated. So, we see a lot of these type of light grids in our elevators, lifts. The door of the lift, when it is operating, they have the sensors mounted at the corner. As the door closes, somebody inserts his hand inside, the door opens back because there is an obstruction of light from reaching the receiver, thereby generating an output, and this output is then controlling the opening and closing of the lift. So, these were something on photosensors. Now I would like to move on to the last topic or last point of sensors, which are ultrasonic sensors. Now ultrasonic sensor, as the word itself says, is a device that uses high frequency sound waves to detect the object. Ultrasonic sensors have also become very much popular in the industry today. The reason is because they use both higher end benefits of compared to the inductive and photoelectric sensor. These sensors can bridge the gap between these two sensors. Inductive sensors have certain limitations, that it can only detect metallic targets. Photoelectric sensors, they have a certain limitation that they can detect only, they cannot differentiate easily between different colored objects. That means the sensing range gets affected by that. But on the other hand, ultrasonic sensors, which are working on the principle of sound, are unaffected by the type of target, the type of material that is being used. So let me explain how ultrasonic sensors work and what is the principle behind it. Now, if you look at the construction of an ultrasonic sensor, the sensing phase of the ultrasonic sensor is nothing but an ultrasonic transducer, which has got a small crystal disc inside it. There is a signal processor which processes the sound waves which are received, and then there is an output stage. The oscillator inside the sensor housing produces a high frequency sound wave, waves, which causes the crystal, which is the heart of the sensor, which we call as ultrasonic transducer, to vibrate, and as a result of this vibration, sound waves are emitted. So when the sound waves goes, it hits a target in front of it, they get reflected back to the receiver. Based on the sound wave which are received, the sensor senses the presence of an object in front of it. So these sensors use sound waves to generate, to sense the presence of target in front of it. This frequency of the sound wave which is produced by the ultrasonic sensor is above the range that can be heard by a human being. We all know that the speed of the sound at normal ambient temperature is around 344 meters per second. So when we know the speed of sound at which it is going out and coming back, so based on the time of flight, time taken to hit and the target and again received back, we know that time, and based on that, based on the velocity, we are able to calculate the distance between the object which was there in front of it. So these are one type of sensors which are widely used. So they are using the principle of sound waves to detect the presence or absence of a target. So these are some of the benefits why ultrasonic sensors have been becoming more and more useful. They have a large operating range, that means they can sense a target up to few meters, up to 10, 15, 20 meters. They can detect liquids, they can detect solids, that means anything, any surface, any material which is sound reflecting can be easily detected by them. They are soiling proof, they are color neutral, that means the color of an object does not play an important role, that means any color of an object can be used. It will, only thing is it should be able to detect back the sound waves. Lastly, most of the important factor is the switching distance of the sensor is material independent. You can have a target which can be made of glass, it could be a wooden target, it could be a plastic target, it is material independent. Any material which is sound reflecting can be easily detected by this sensor. Then couple of limitations or problems. They are sensitive to the environmental conditions. What exactly what I mean by this is, as I said, the sound waves travel at a speed of 344 meters per second, but with the change in temperature or air pressure, the velocity of the sound waves changes. As a result of that, the measurement readings also change because of the change in temperature. So this is one of the important factors which are there in ultrasonic sensors. So this was something on the sensors which are there in the industry today. Now what has happened is, we are all talking about industry 4.0, the next generation sensors, couple of new devices which are there. What I would like to share with you, these are some of the applications which can be used for in industry 4.0, and I will also try to explain to you some of the new features that has been added. So these are some of the example pictures which shows inductive sensor sensing a metallic target, ultrasonic sensor measuring the level of a tank of a inside a hopper, the level inside that, and a photoelectric sensor sensing a small target which was there. So now these sensors have becoming more and more smarter, because today when we talk about industry 4.0, we talk about interconnectivity of devices, transmission of data, augmented reality, cloud computing, big data, and all those things. So for that, it is very much important that the sensors which are used today in the industry are also becoming more and more smarter. So now these sensors, they can have a memory of its own. These sensors not only provide you process data, but they can also provide you service data. Service data in the sense they can provide you the health of the sensor. Tomorrow if a sensor is going to go faulty, the sensor can provide you all that information. So that based on that, everything, all the actions, predictive maintenance can be taken place. Plus these are all communication ready sensors. That means these sensors now can communicate directly with the cloud, and from the cloud these sensors can transfer all the information directly back to your smart device, which can be your iPhone or an iPad or any smart device, where you can take the information directly from the sensors. So these sensors are now becoming smarter, by which they are transferring all type of information to us to make our lives more easier. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.